Okay, so welcome to Beauty of Colors podcast, J.R. Martinez. It is a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, and yourself?
I can't complain. I guess I could complain, but who wants to hear that, right? Like you remember the pre-COVID when, everyone was like, "How you doing?" Like, "I'm good, I'm good." All right, cool. Thanks. It felt good about yourself. You asked. And
Uh-huh.
then COVID came around and everyone was like, "Nah, man, you really got to like ask the question and you
Mm.
really got to listen." And then we were all about that for a couple of years, and then we got a little freedom back, and then all of a sudden now went back to our old ways of like, "How you doing? You good? Okay, cool." Like, don't tell me all the drama. I don't want to hear all the drama.
So, J.R., how did you become a New York Times best-selling author?
I I beat Rob Kardashian on Dancing with the Stars. No, I'm kidding. I'm
Oh,
kidding.
okay.
Um, that helps a lot. No, being able to have that thing right there, that trophy of being on Dancing with the Stars was huge. But I think honestly, I think one of the biggest things that allowed the book to have such great success was the fact that I was very raw and authentic and vulnerable. And I shared a lot of my life with the reader
Mhm.
and things that, in some cases, I think for a long time, I tried to really protect. I tried to hide on some level just because I wasn't ready emotionally to really, share a lot of that stuff. And I think for me, there's a lot of when you look at my life, I think it's easy to see my injury and think, oh my God, what he's been through. I can never relate to that, right? Because you're like, I haven't been through what he's been through. But the reality is there's all these things, experiences that I've had prior to that moment and since that moment that are mostly those are the most enriching moments, right? Those things help prepare me and give me so much data and allowed me to identify that I am truly resilient, that I am capable. And those are the things that allowed me to survive what I ended up ultimately facing in life. And so I think a lot of people connected with that. And so just people just said, man, this guy's kind of has a story that I can relate to in many ways because all of us can identify with this with the feeling. And that's the thing that I think people connected with.
Wow. So, tell us about your journey on Dancing with the Stars. How did you feel when you won the season?
Let me tell you something. If I could go back to
Mhm.
my 3 months on that show, I think I would try to appreciate it more.
Mhm.
And what I mean by that is the show is a well-oiled machine. It moves fast, right? From the moment that you start, you do rehearsals, you do your fittings, you do your interviews. It is a popularity contest as well. So you're doing a lot of press just to get people to vote for you and your partner, and then you dance and then you find out you're safe and then you're repeating that cycle and you do this for 3 months,
Mhm.
and then you're managing all these other things that come in to the space, right? Like people asking you to go on this show or this talk show or can you go do this event, and so it's just busy. It's really busy.
Mhm.
And to the point when I won the show, it was but like, I was in it and I was experiencing it, but it was just a lot thrown at me in a short amount of time. And when they announced the winner, which was my partner, Karina Smirnoff, and I mean, it
Mhm.
was one of those things, it was like, "What? Like, what? Like, this is it now? Like, this is it? That we're done?" And so it was a little mind-boggling in a way, to wrap your head around the fact that you're no longer gonna be doing this. I mean, I remember the show ended.
Mhm.
And the next day I was kind of like, okay, I got to go to rehearsal. And it was like, no, you don't. You're done. You're like, no more rehearsals, man. Like your feet are free. Your feet are free. No more dancing on your feet. And but it was such a beautiful experience. And what it did for me is it allowed me to show the world that I was so much more than maybe what they thought.
Mhm.
It's easy to look at somebody with scars, like facial scarring like myself, or just scarring in their body in general, and just assume a narrative or a story, and box them in whether you intend to or not.
Mhm.
And I was able to show the world that I was so much more than, maybe what they initially thought when they saw me.
Wow. So how did you when they did announce that you're the winner, how did you feel inside? Like how was that the feeling? Were you joyous? Were you like, oh, I can't believe it, you know?
I was very, very happy.
Okay.
I was overwhelmed with just excitement and joy that and happiness that I did this. Like this um but I think it was still surreal for me. There was still an underlining of like what? Because I mean, I joked about it at the beginning, but I mean, Rob Kardashian was the runner up. And we know one thing about that Kardashian family. They have a big following of people. And I just didn't think that I was going to have that many people voting for me that were going to be more than a Kardashian can votes than a Kardashian can get as far as for votes. And I was a kid. I mean, listen, I was on when I was on the show. Listen, I was an actor 3 years before that, and I had some notoriety, if you will, but it wasn't anything like really going to move the needle on Dancing with the Stars. But the thing about on that show is that you're in a room rehearsing all week, and then you go into this studio and you dance. And even though there's probably like 700 people they put inside that studio when the show is live, you don't see the thousands and millions of people that are on the other side of that camera, right? You don't see them. You don't know that they're there. And so for me, I was just dancing for 700 people every week. That's the way it was. It was almost like a small live event that was happening in the city near you kind of vibe. And I just didn't I was just oblivious to the fact that there were all these other people out there that were really rooting for me. And so when they announced that I had won the competition, it was one of those moments where I was like, "Wow, there's a lot of people that were rooting for me. There's a lot of people that were voting for me because I beat a Kardashian." like, like so, and it was cool. And then of course, then ever since I was on the show, I've been traveling nonstop, and
Mm.
now I get to meet those people because people come up to me all the time and say, "I voted for you, I voted for you, and I watched you," and this, and so then now I get to actually put a face to a lot of those votes, which is cool.
Sounds good. Well, congrats.
Thank you, thank you, thank
Welcome.
you.
Welcome. So you said that scars are like tattoos with better stories. What do you mean by that?
You know, sometimes you get a tattoo and there's not really a story behind it. That's not true for all, of course, but just some. And the thing I think, they're both permanent things. Scars and tattoos, they're permanent, right? And they become a part of your identity. They become part of how people look at you and they perceive you. And the one thing I thought about is like, scars are like tattoos in the sense that they're permanent. They are a part of your body now. They are part of your image, but there's stories behind that. I mean, when I see somebody in public with scars, without even speaking to them, I immediately identify that that person has been through something. That person is. It takes a lot of courage to show up in this public space and to function. Um, but they're showing up, and I start to pay attention to the amount of courage that it takes and bravery to be able to do that. And listen, tattoos, you appreciate those and the art and what it stands for, and especially if there's a story behind it. But scars, to me, there's just so much more depth and weight to it in some regard, right? And so I just more said that just to give people that have the scars like myself to be able to appreciate them and to be able to take pride in that there's a story in each one of your scars that you have, whether they're visible or not. You're
Mhm.
still telling a story, and there's a lot of there's a road there's a road that those scars kind of allow people to understand that there has been a journey and you've been traveling on this road. And so I don't know, I think it's just one of those cool ways where people can look at scars and say, man, that person's been through some stuff, but look how they're still showing up. That's pretty cool.
Excellent. That's good. So, where can the listeners get a copy of your book and where can they get in touch with you? Do you do like speaking engagements and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I primarily now do a lot of motivational speaking. So I find myself, doing all sorts of events, whether it's the big corporate events, the gatherings, or whether it's universities, schools, nonprofits. I love doing it. I feel like I have a lot to share, and I'm not afraid of being in front of people. So so it works for my personality, and like I said, I've found purpose in it, and so it's my way of continuing to serve. So but I would encourage everyone, listen, for me, everything that I do is about having a conversation. I love conversation. I love expanding with people. I love going to a deeper place and create connection with individuals. And so I always encourage people to hit me up on social media, just because it's a great place where you can continue a conversation, right? And just stay connected with one another. So I would hope people would feel encouraged to hit me up on Instagram. I am J.R. Martinez. And there's links there where you can either see where I'm speaking or buy a book, or whatever it is that I'm up to at the time. But most importantly, I just want people to come be part of the community, and just let's just have a conversation.
Okay, sounds great, JR. So, what last words do you have for the listeners about overcoming battles and recreating themselves?
So I live by this word rebirth. It is the word that I use to describe the day that I was injured. Um, when you hear that word, you naturally think of things ending in order for things to be born, right? And I believe that that is true for all of us. All of us are going through rebirths daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. Our roles, things that we identify as who we are as individuals, they're constantly evolving and changing. And you have to be able to understand that some things come to an end, some things close, but it leaves room an opportunity for other things to be born. But I believe that the only way that you're really able to and receive that is, I think, through stillness and through breath work. And I encourage people, in the mix of us having such busy and chaotic lives, because we
Mhm,
all do, is finding time to just be, and to close your eyes, and to breathe, and to actually feel yourself breathing, and connect with your breath, and connect with who you are,
mhm,
connect with what goals you've had for yourself, set intentions for your life, for your day, for this interaction you're about to have clarity on all that stuff, and never let anything or anyone pull you away from that center. And knowing that when life gets busy and crazy and chaotic again, all you have to do is just sit still, and just create stillness, and just create silence, and just connect with your breath work, and be honest with yourself. I think I did a lot of that, and I still do a lot of that till this day. And it doesn't have to be in a traditional meditative state where you're sitting and you're for long periods of time. I mean, I'm in my car half the time, so I'm on a plane half the time. I do it there. So just find some time. And I think the more that we do that, the more we listen to ourselves and remind ourselves that we're more than capable of overcoming whatever it is. And we're able to come to terms with accepting that certain things end, but
mhm.
yet other things are on the horizon.
Wow, beautifully said, JR. Well, thank you for being on Beauty of Colors podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, and I wish you the best. Thank you for sharing your platform with me, and you know, can't wait to see the episode.
Okay, you're welcome.